Welcome back.
Welcome back, family, to Hear Us Out. I'm Renee.
I'm Curry.
And as always, thank you so much to our longtime subscribers and to any new listeners here. Make sure to hit subscribe so that you can continue to get notifications to Hear Us Out.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been a few weeks, two
Yeah,
weeks,
for about 2 weeks.
mhm, 2 weeks, 2 weeks of change,
Right?
right? And after we've finalized
Mm-hmm.
our analysis, our reading of W.E.B. Du Bois's The Souls of Black Folks, and well, a lot has happened in that time.
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a war,
Hmm.
that's being fought between Russia and Ukraine. We have mandates of the for the coronavirus, being slowed here. But then on the other side of the planet, China has shut down a city with over 50 million people because of coronavirus. There's a another variant, and
Hmm.
you know,
Omicron.
yes, another variant of it, and we have Jussie Smollett, and police not being tried for murders and other crimes. It's the same.
It's the same but worse.
Yes, yes, it's the same distress, the same.
Same but worse.
Yes, and now you have to drive for $6 a gallon for gas, and the rent's just too high, and wages are still too low, and we have teachers going on strike, and I'm like, isn't this like the month of March? You have teachers who are striking for pay
In March.
in March.
Like the end of the school year.
Yes, so it's another day, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be another day like this,
Hmm.
because we all know what needs to be done and what we should be doing. And yet, here we are, tackling these problems with old world solutions. And actually, they're
Well,
not even old world solutions
old
because,
hat
yeah,
solutions.
so that's where we are.
It's been there's it is what it is in a sense, right? And we've always
Yeah,
we've always
yeah.
said that like I said, don't get used to this, never accept it as normal,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how long it has existed, because it's been around for such a long
Mm-hmm.
time, right? That it feels like this has just been the way that it is, and
Right.
it's always been what it is. No, uh, this has not always been the way
Mm-hmm.
it is. This is a fairly new construction, and never get used to it. Doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
how long it's been around. Never get used to it. Never say that it's
Mm-hmm.
normal.
And the fact that you have this angst, you have angst about what's happening. That lets you know that something is something is not right, even though we've seen this before. So
Wrong is wrong, no matter how
yeah.
many times you see it.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing that at least been weighing on my mind
Mm-hmm.
since then. This is with all this stuff going on. You know, it's like I've been doing a thought experiment
Mm-hmm.
as of late. And speaking of old, it's not a new thought experiment. It's
Right.
an old one. I've been I've been just getting real big into Nietzsche as of late. I've been quoting him a lot, and
uh
a lot more than I usually do.
yes, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I think Nietzsche wrote a book called "Thus Spoke Zarathustra,"
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And talked about his this prophet, this man Zarathustra, who I think lived in a cave for years and years, secluded away from reality. I mean, secluded away from the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to this, grand realization about the world, right? And how there was this thing called, at least what he called, the eternal recurrence, right? But there were many, this idea existed many years before him,
Mm-hmm.
and then they
Mm-hmm.
called the eternal return. It's in a sense that history and humanity is a closed loop, and that it is going to repeat itself, for better or for worse, over and over and over and over again. That no matter how much the aesthetic may change, no matter how much our technology, quote unquote, may progress, it will always, for us, end up being the same thing over and over and over again, right? And the big thing that Nietzsche was dealing with during that time, was nihilism. The same thing we're dealing with now, because it was the death of God and the advent of science and the scientific perception of reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? But with the death of God, quote unquote, there was a death of a lot of moral beliefs, and the death of a lot of communal strengths. That when the people built themselves, whole communities built themselves around this particular idea, and now it's essentially gone, right? And now Nietzsche had to contend with this scientific point of view, and which led to a lot of nihilism about the world, about how there's just nothing, nothing we can do,
Right.
and nothing that that is worth doing, and what's the point of anything, all that stuff,
Yeah.
you know. And Nietzsche railed against it. So did Dostoevsky,
Mm-hmm.
in Notes from the Underground.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dostoevsky was a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was a Catholic man, and a lot of thinkers during that time who saw the advent of this new perceptual basis kind of balked at it, not because it wasn't necessary, but because of what it was leading us to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think that's why I, asked the question, before, is that we have. My question was, is it even possible to come back from a mistake that was so wrong? Can we can we ever make a corrective step that would sidebar or even get rid of the egregious error from before? And
well, that's what that's
right.
what a lot of
Mm-hmm.
philosophers were dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
that idea,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and this new advent of hopelessness, and feeling like and futility, all
Mm-hmm.
these things we
Yes.
talked about
Yeah.
before,
Uh-huh.
as we talked about, and thus spoke Zarathustra, who was like this prophet who had to contend with all of these ideas,
Mm-hmm.
with the death of God, and who came out with this new idea that you know this is kind of what we talked about before, that none of these things ever really existed before. And when they weren't real before,
Right.
and they had their own problems before. The idea now isn't that nothing is meaningless. It's, do you have the strength to create your own meaning,
Mm-hmm.
and to say that it is your own,
Right.
and to live in that and make it
Mm-hmm.
real. And that is through the creation of your own meaning. And it is through looking at life, and seeing that there's so much wrong with it, and there's life, and when you actually think about how we're living, there's all this suffering and pain that seems just so unnecessary. Like, why is this way, why is it that way, why don't we just do that, and it's like, can you look at that, can you look at life, and for all the bad and all the good, and still want to live it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was his big thing. Is that this Sisyphean type thing, where you're constantly pushing the boat up the hill and it's rolling
Yes.
back
Right. Roll
down,
back down.
right? Do
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
still have the strength to get up and push up that boat?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have it within you to find joy in your life,
Mm-hmm.
to to live it, right? And that is what Zarathustra, was a prophet of.
Mm-hmm.
He had this, and that's kind of Nietzsche in himself with this Ubermensch type thing, you know, having the strength to self-actualize, despite the fact that our world is a world of contradictions
Mm-hmm.
and this eternal recurrence.
But sometimes I
So,
find that the resilience and perseverance, right? That even those thoughts get tiring and it falls into futility. I'm tired of being resilient.
well, it's not
I'm
about outlasting. It's not about resilience, because at this point, you're not, this isn't about changing the world. This isn't about opposing the world.
right,
Not on a personal level.
right,
Not right here.
right, not
Not in
right here,
this
right.
place.
Mm-hmm.
It's about still having enough within you to live and understand what life is,
Mm-hmm.
and to still say that it's worth living.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's about.
So it's not about going through this. It's about, can you make another way? Not so much the next step,
No, not
but can you make another way? Because
not no.
this
That's
as it's currently constructed, we know that it's not it's not working for the overwhelming majority of people. It's not
mhm.
working. So it's not about trudging along through this, right? Is it about, can you make another way?
It's okay.
Hear you out. I'm gonna hear you out.
I'm no. That's not that's not what the thought experiment is about. You
No, that's
know,
what I'm thinking.
but that's not that I'm. It's not that it's not about you know trying to create another path, right? It's about having the wherewithal to understand in this eternal recurrence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where it's always going to be this, where it's always going to, this cycle
This loop that you're
of,
talking
of
about. Mhm.
mediocrity, right?
Okay.
Being when you're stuck in that, do you still have it? Can you still, live? Can you
Mm-hmm.
still do you still have it within you to find the beauty in life, to still have your own meaning, to still follow the path? If you had to you know go back and start your life over, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that you can't change anything,
Mm-hmm.
that you can't change any of it, that you are going to live, especially in this eternal recurrence,
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to live your life over and over and over again. You know, do you have it in you to do that?
Mm-hmm.
To start your life over, knowing that you're going to make the same mistakes, that you're going to have the same highs and the same lows. Can you do that? And that was one. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
one of his big ideas, especially during thus spoke Zarathustra and
Okay.
some of his other works,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of thinking at that time, because when you're facing off against this nihilism, this meaninglessness, where nothing has meaning, nothing has a point, you have this dread for life, this dread of life. It all seems hopeless and pointless, and you don't want to live it, right? And I think it's always good to keep in mind that I've said this many times
Mm-hmm.
before, and whether you believe that we are here through divine intervention or cosmic coincidence, that life is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Life is a miracle. And that means that the bad things about our life are no less miraculous than those that are good. That all of it, all of our suffering, all of our joy, all of our happiness and sadness, everything that composes the human experience is a miracle. And I know, that, like I said, when we look at it and we look at, when you think about how we're living, it's like, why is it this way?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing miraculous about this. This
Mm-hmm.
is lazy
Mm-hmm.
more than anything. Well, laziness, the fact that exists, that is a miracle. Knowing that we aren't the only ones who have tried to change our world. We aren't the only ones who have, tried to trudge a new path, tried to create something else, tried to alleviate these old problems, tried to solve these old wounds. That people are going to always find. There's always going to be something else. And that something else is going to be very familiar because we're human beings. And like I said before,
Mm-hmm.
human beings can only create a mirror. That's the only thing we can
Right.
ever build. It's something that reflects
Flex. Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and do we have it in us to recognize that reflection? Can we do that? You know, and that's really what this thought experiment is about.
Mm-hmm.
Is that do we still, knowing all the mistakes that we're going to make, all of the wrongs that we're going to have to deal with, do we still have it within us to live our life, to take joy and meaning, from the experience of life?
But not but as in
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
But why is it that like we know and we still don't? I would think that the knowing should it should curtail because you know,
Mhm.
but yet it's the knowing doesn't curtail. That's why it's difficult to think that knowing what I know now, that if I had to go back, I couldn't change anything. I'm like,
Not that you couldn't, that you wouldn't.
that you wouldn't change anything. And I'm like, no, because but I know better, so I would think that I would
That's the
want
thing.
to
That's the thing.
that I would want to I would want to do better because I know now. I didn't know that the the walk that I took was I didn't know, and I'm learning along the way. You know, and for me to go back and act like I
This is
didn't,
not an act.
it's I'm not. I'm just saying. If you're telling me that I wouldn't change anything, that's I don't know.
It's like you're not. If it's like not if you have to do it all again, but if you are going to do it all again. If there's this quote, I don't know where it comes from, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just in my head,
Okay.
right? All right, that everyone makes choices,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, it's the choices that make them.
Yeah. Okay.
Your choices for better or for worse, are who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? All the missteps are just as necessary to who you are as all the things that you take pride in.
Yes, I agree. I'm not disagreeing there.
So
Right.
when you have when the recurrence happens and you
Mm-hmm.
find yourself back at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right? Knowing that your life is going to be what it is, you know, will you live it again? Do you have it within you to still take meaning and lesson? Do you have it within you to be yourself
Mm-hmm.
again for however long this recurrence may last, for
Mm-hmm.
eternity,
Mm-hmm.
if you
Yeah.
would,
Right.
because it's
Right.
the eternal
Yeah. Yeah.
recurrence, it's
Huh.
the eternal return, right? And when Zarathustra went to the public
Mm-hmm.
with his new
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, it did not go so well.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted a lot of people to adopt his new ideal, this new reaffirmation of life,
Mm-hmm.
right, as a basis for change. Because if you can't accept what your life is,
Mm-hmm.
if you can't accept the metric in which it's existing in,
Mm-hmm.
at the very minimum, then how can you ever seek to change it? How can you ever seek, to actually do anything fundamentally new
Mm-hmm.
if you can't accept what it is? So he went to all these people, he went to these masses, and all
Mm-hmm.
of them were, oh no,
Right.
you're crazy,
Right.
get out of here.
Right.
But there was
Mm-hmm.
some in the crowd who were like, I think
He's on
I
to
kind
something.
of
Yeah.
understand what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Zarathustra took these people, back to his mountain, back up to his mountain, and he trained them all. He taught them all in his ways. But at the end of the day, it was always a personal lesson
Mm-hmm.
because nobody really got it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really understood it, even no matter how hard they tried.
Mm-hmm.
It was always a personal lesson for Zarathustra. Do you have the will to live your life
Mm-hmm.
knowing that it's going to be what it is? That it's going to be this Sisyphean struggle of being, we know that this is wrong. We know
Mm-hmm.
there's something wrong here. There's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If we go this way, we work from this, we
Mm-hmm.
do this and all that good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then we can create that thing that we say that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And your entire life is you trying to do that. And even if it never works, because the right thing hardly ever does,
Yeah.
you know, will you still do it? Will you still do it? Can you can you still find it within yourself to live life, to live your life, knowing that it's going to be what it is?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, there's a part of me, like I said, they said before, that all of it is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
The bad, the good, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I had that choice, knowing everything that my life has been thus far,
Mm-hmm.
could I go back into it knowing that it's going to be what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Could I go? I would want to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to say yes
Yeah.
because life is a miracle
Mm-hmm.
and life is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's been, because this existential struggle that we're dealing with right now
Mm-hmm.
is nothing compared to the struggle that we went through to even
Get
get
here.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the purely physical level.
Lover. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
The mad dash that a sperm cell takes toward the egg.
Mm-hmm.
hundreds, thousands,
Mm-hmm.
millions of potential lives,
Mm-hmm.
all just scurrying for a chance. That's where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
And over the millions upon millions of years of evolution that we went through all of the climatic extremes and all the giant extinction events that life on this planet has had to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
and all the things that we have contended with, all the things we've learned about our world and ourselves, the thing that breaks us in the end, the one thing that we can't get over is reconciling the question of self.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Not the thunder and lightning, not the
Mm-hmm.
meteors and the floods and the frosts and the fires, but the self. We can't look ourselves in the mirror and it's killing us.
Mm-hmm.
We can't recognize who we are and it's destroying everything that we have ever built.
Mm-hmm.
We know what the world's choice is going to be.
Right.
The world will survive
Yep.
in
But
spite,
of that's right. It's right for
because of,
stuff.
who
Right.
knows? I
Right.
think that's a George Carlin joke, right? When he talked about, about like the people are going extinct. Not
Yeah.
the world is dying.
Yeah.
The people are going
Yeah. The
extinct.
world will be here
And he said
with or
people, like
without you.
he said people
Right.
constantly talking about plastic. And so the world went through so many disasters. That might have been why the world allowed us to exist, for plastic. Might have just wanted plastic for itself. And it'd just be Earth plus plastic at this
Right.
point. When we all go away, the plastic's still here.
Right.
That'll be the entire point of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Plastic.
plastic. Nature wanted plastic. That could be it.
It could be it. Could be it.
You know, but the thing is that I want to be able to look at that, to
Mm-hmm.
look, at the whole of the human experience, to be able to say, yeah, I'll do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's nothing. It's nothing compared to everything that we have ever had to do, right? But from what I know of, from most psychiatrists, that's not the best way to deal with their problems, right? By
Mm-hmm.
saying that, well, we've had it worse at some point, and that
Yeah.
other people have it worse at
Yeah.
some point, and
That's
that's
not
not the
right.
best way to deal with your
Right.
problems, right? But it's a good way to keep it in perspective. It's eating you alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's corroding your strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the world that needs to be saved.
Mm-hmm. It's you.
It's you.
Mm-hmm. You don't want this for yourself. So one would think then that you wouldn't want it for anyone else.
Mm.
And yet
We haven't been able to reconcile
we
that.
have not been able to, like you said, reconcile that. We tend to put our problems and pains and on others and have them to bear it, be it the planet itself,
Mm-hmm.
children, other people's, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We put it off and put it onto something else. And that thing grows and becomes
What it is.
what it is. The thing that you said that you didn't want. That's what you planted. So it is a crisis from within. And we are living with the results of that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
No.
So the question still remains:
Mm-hmm.
Can you? Will you? You know, will you live your life knowing that it's going to be what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the reconciliation. Can you recognize what we are and still find life worth living?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I want to. I want to
Mm-hmm.
desperately. But then it always runs across this ideal of well, everybody has wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to still live life,
Mm-hmm.
still fight for life, still do all these things. I don't want that. I want change.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I really want.
Right. I don't want
I
this.
want
Right.
something
That's
else.
right. Right.
So why is the question always do I have accepting this? Why is it never do something
No.
else?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know the answer, obviously, because it is what it is. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. It is what it is, but it's not a failure of strength on my part
Mm-hmm.
for looking at what it is and saying that it's a raw
Oh,
deal
yeah.
that I don't want anything
To
to
do
do
with.
with.
Right.
But it's it's not a question of value.
Okay.
It's not a question of equivalency, like I said before.
Okay.
You
That's a
know,
better deal. Yeah.
there's
Mm-hmm.
no, there isn't, there's no good that equates to bad.
Right.
No bad that equates to good. It's just what it
Yes.
is.
Mm-hmm.
You yourself may value those things that you hold as good
Mm-hmm.
more than what the world holds as good. You may value that vision of life more than what life is. But it's not a question of value. It's hardly even a question of of will. It's a question of insight. It's a question of the soul. If you can't face this now, find it within you now to reconcile this image of self, then there can be no change.
Right. Right.
We are people of our time.
Mm-hmm. We're projecting.
You know,
We're
we're people
projecting.
of our time,
Right.
and
Instead
it's
of. Mm-hmm.
always. And that's one of I guess it's another one of a thought experiment that I have is that what if that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Harriet Tubman, they're still alive
Mm-hmm.
in their time
Mm-hmm.
in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the only reason why we are here is because they said yes,
Mm-hmm.
that they are constantly living their lives over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
constantly going back in the fire, doing it again and again and again and again. So we, right here in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
could ask ourselves once again.
Right.
You know, they're still there because when they die, they have to ask themselves that question.
Mm-hmm.
Then they do it again and again, and their
Mm-hmm.
memory persists. No matter how frayed it becomes, no matter how far we get away from it, they're still doing it
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over again. Even the villains, right? The slave masters,
Mm-hmm.
doing it again and again and again. So we can stand right here, right now, in full brilliance of the miracle of life, that we can ask ourselves once again, can we keep this going?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a miracle. And it is not on us. It is not on you
Mm-hmm.
to end it. You can't.
Right.
We don't know where this miracle even comes from. And you have no right
Mm-hmm.
to end it. And that's, one of the things that I've always thought about is how one of my big falling outs with, religion and stuff like that was that my life wasn't my own.
Mm-hmm.
And all of like my accomplishments weren't my own. Everything was God,
Right.
right? Where do I
Mm-hmm.
come into place? Where can I
Mm-hmm.
even see myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now is at the point where I know that God is just a reflection of us,
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of us really don't have the will to see,
Mm-hmm.
right? We want it to be something else. We want
Right.
it to be greater than us,
Right.
but it's just
Yeah,
us.
it's just you.
And that's the, and Now I'm at a place where I'm like, well, with that, I can understand how my life is in my own and
Mm-hmm.
how to draw strength from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can despair. I
Mm-hmm.
can get angry. I can get sad. I can get happy. I can do all those
Right.
things. But what I can't do is give it away
Mm-hmm.
because it's not my right to.
Mm-hmm.
And if Harriet Tubman has the will to go on living her life,
Mm-hmm.
to go back in that fire, to try to save slaves, some of whom don't even know they're slaves,
Mm-hmm.
don't want her to be saved, who dread the image of her, to dread seeing her come on that
Mm-hmm.
plantation because of what it means for them.
Right.
Because now they have to admit that they don't have it within them to run.
Mm-hmm.
She is doing that
Mm-hmm.
right now. Right now. And when she died, she said, I'm going to do it again.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And I'm sitting here.
Right.
I'm sitting here looking at what, my life, looking at what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
War in the Ukraine, right? COVID, Omicron, starvation,
Basic right.
murder,
Mm-hmm.
thievery, all this stuff, all these problems, all this old hat nonsense. And I could look at it and say that, yeah, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want it.
Right.
They didn't want it,
Mm-hmm.
but they found it within them. How could I?
Right.
How could I give this up?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever small part I play in the maintenance of this miracle, I have to accept that.
Yeah. Do your part. Do your part.
And if my part is to be angry and desperate and sad for something else,
mm-hmm.
Hungry and longing for a dream,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll do that.
Then that's it, right?
And I will continue to do that
Mm-hmm.
for as long as needs be.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of another thing, right? Reminds me of another thing. Because there's this episode of Doctor Who, right? I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's, oh man, people have talked about this episode to death, and I can't remember the name of it.
That's okay.
People say it's the best episode of Doctor Who ever. Whatever, it's this episode of Doctor Who. His best friend has just died. He's just killed. Had to face the Raven. Was murdered by a quantum shadow or whatever. Some, sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, right.
Right, it's Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'm about to say this stuff.
So, and then he gets transported into this place, right? This place, this torture room that was meant to psychologically and physically torture him to get all the secrets that Doctor Who has over, living for thousands of years, right? And he is going through this maze, dealing with all of it, never stopping, never trying to get out until at the very end he comes to this wall of diamond, right? In the show, it's not actually, there's some sci-fi material, like,
right? Right.
Iridium,
Yeah,
1,000 times harder than diamond,
right?
But it's essentially a wall of diamond, right? And it's this wall of diamond, and everything else is on the outside of this wall of diamond, and he breaks down. He starts to remember, like, I've been stuck in here for this long, all this time against this wall. What am I going to do? How am I going to get out of here? And then he even says that because he's grieving the loss of his friend. Like, even if I get out of here, you still won't be there. What's the point of any of this? But the point is that you're Doctor Who.
That's right.
You're the doctor.
Yeah, you're the doctor, right?
You're the one. You succeed. You win. That's the question. How do you win? Get punched through it. Get through it because you're the doctor. Do you have the will to be the doctor? That's a question that happens over and over again. And, because he always regenerates. He always has to become someone else. And it's always his existential crisis. But he does it over and over again. He's like, can I do it again? Can I punch through this wall of diamond? And he gets up, like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And he punches that wall of diamond and like breaks his hand, like ah. And the monster comes and kills him. Right? Well, it almost kills him. Shocks him halfway to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But then he himself drags his dying, emaciated, burned corpse all the way back up to the machine that brought him here.
Mm-hmm.
And know he knows that there's this teleporter, it's like a cloning machine. There's a
Right.
version of him still in
Mm-hmm.
there. So he sacrifices himself, right, to start this closed loop all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then he shows up and he's back. And now he has to go through the whole
Okay.
cycle once again.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it over and over and over for I think over 4 billion years.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly running up against that wall of diamond, punching it. I think he's saying a Brothers Grimm poem along the way about this.
Mm-hmm.
The woodpecker who comes to this mountain of diamond. It's too big to go, over it, too big to go under it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and he sharpens his beak on this
Yeah.
wall of diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when that woodpecker gets through that wall of diamond, then 1 second of eternity will have passed. Right? And so he's constantly saying this poem to himself over and over again, going over and over for over 4 billion years.
Mm-hmm.
Until he fought a war of attrition against time itself and won. Because he's the doctor. That's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He faced like that grief inside of himself of knowing that thing that he wants is not beyond this wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there.
Right.
It won't be there. Do you still have what it have it within you to suffer the torture over and over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that? And it's like that's what I aspire to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's TV.
Yeah, that's TV.
That's TV.
Being trapped in a roof over, but he's
right.
He's a superhero,
Right.
right? I'm like, but that's the goal.
Right.
That's the goal, to look at life.
Mm-hmm.
To look at life and still live it. Because like I said, living is hell. Life is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Living is hell.
Mm-hmm.
And we've made it that way.
Yes.
It's the hell of our own creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that it was something else. I want it to be something else. And that's why it's not like it can't be.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Yeah. It's something like it's
so much, right?
It's like it's agonizingly possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. Like we just not.
Right. Can we just not? Right.
You just stop.
Right.
It's always there.
Yeah.
It's not.
We can just not do this. Right.
I just always think like, why do we have a president after Bush?
We just stop right here.
Like, why? Like, this man was a war criminal.
Mm-hmm. But he paints now. He's a painter, so
his actions led to the result of direct deaths of millions of people behind nothing, behind greed and profit.
Yeah.
He lied.
And said that if you don't stand with him, then you're the terrorist.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, why after that couldn't we just take a break?
Mm-hmm.
Just as the American people, like, you know what?
Yeah,
let's just not have a president for a while.
Yeah.
It's just not.
But we just kept going.
Because that wasn't, nobody was thinking that. Nobody was like, we got to, we got to get the president there. We got to do all the things.
Yeah, because having the new president is going to come in and change things.
Yeah,
hope and change.
And I'm like, why could we? Can we just stop?
Can we just stop? Right?
Can we just have a break from all this? Can we just be like, you know what? Let's not have a break.
Yeah.
Or when it came down to the Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, two people that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we be like,
you know what?
No, y'all gonna have to do it again until we gonna stay here,
right?
Until we get acceptable options,
right? This is trash, right?
Because we don't want that. We don't want these. We want something. So and we don't. So it's like, so why couldn't that be the case? Why can't we just that's what I'm thinking, and it's always right there. Why don't we just?
Well, but someone has to win and someone has to lose. It's the democracy,
we know
what it is. That's what I'm saying, right?
But I'm like, but that's the thing. That's why
we're here.
That's
because
why
no one wants.
Here. And that's why And that's the thing that I guess like it's the bane of my existence, but it's also the thing that keeps me going
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like right there. At some point, at some point, we're gonna be like, okay, all right,
Maybe we'll buy. Maybe this will be the cut. Well, you know,
maybe.
like, you know what?
I don't know. Look, I look at
Yeah,
I
look,
look at a lot of my contemporaries, and you look real tired.
already.
You look tired.
Yeah, already.
You're young and tired, which is
That's what
good.
I'm saying. Right,
So
right.
maybe we'll be like, let's
Let's just stop
let's just
this.
stop.
Yeah.
Let's just not do this right now.
Well, that's the thing is that
You know, but like
so much of it is about it's the momentum.
it's always right there.
Right.
It's always right there, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the best and worst thing about it, right? And it's like I know it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a knowing of it at
That's
some
right.
level.
Right.
At some level, we all know it's right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's the personal question. The personal question of do I have it within me? And the answer, like I said, is no.
Right.
But I'm going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it again because it's not mine to give away. That's that's how I've been able to reconcile it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I can reconcile who we are. This isn't my world to save, and it's also not my world to damn.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, I can't just take it and make it what I want, and I can't just throw it away. I am in it with everyone else, with the whole of all the humans that have ever come before me,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them in this particular thought
Mm-hmm.
experiment have to make the same choice. And the fact that we have a history lets us know that at our best and at our worst, we're still willing to do this again. So how can I, no matter how what I know it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Adolf Hitler has learned this lesson by now. Maybe like I don't want to be this person anymore.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be alive, if I'm going to have a life, then I'm going to have to be Adolf Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing it over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all those Jews who suffered, they have to ask themselves the same question, knowing how it ends
Mm-hmm.
for themselves. And they're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It's like, so like I that's what humanity is. That's what humanity is. That's the miracle of our life, you know? And it's like I I can accept that. I can accept that if not for my sake, then for yours.
All right.
That's always been what it's been like. Even when we talked about before about about doing this, it's like because I don't like who we are now. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like the decisions that we're making as a people now. But do I have what it takes to keep persevering for us?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
because this isn't solely for us. It's for everything that we were and everything that we could be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that same way of being able to reconcile us,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same metric that I'm using to reconcile myself. This whole thing is
Mm-hmm.
that I still give people the benefit of the doubt. I still do that, even though it's like I'm always surprised. I think that's good. At
Yeah.
least because at least you're not numb,
Right.
right? It's expected, and it's tiring, and you're like, oh my god, not this again. But it's at least we're still surprised.
Yeah. I mean but that comes with expectations, right?
Hmm.
You have an expectation, and when you have expectations, look to get disappointed. It's just it goes with the territory. But the thing that disappoints me is that we should not have done that.
But here's the thing.
But I know, but it's
That's what I
all
like.
that's all
That's what I
what
like
it
about it.
is, though.
That's what I like. Is that this world is a reflection of a very particular part of the human condition.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
A majority of people, an overwhelming majority of people, don't want this, don't like this,
Mm-hmm.
want something else.
Mm-hmm.
Most people aren't killers.
That is, yes, that's right.
Most people don't have it in them to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are willing to accept their neighbors, willing to accept the people that
Mm-hmm.
they have to live in the world with.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that the people at the very top of our system have a
Mm-hmm.
vested interest in making sure that the world stays the way that it is. Like we said, the world, it doesn't care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Our societies don't care about you. It only cares about the part of you that it can profit from,
Right.
the part of you that it can gain from.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what's being reflected right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that arrogance. We live in a very arrogant world, lazy and arrogant. And going back to Doom Messiah.
Uh-huh.
When Paul Boadib said that I tried to reinvent life, not knowing that it was already invented.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to optimize the human experience. That's where all this comes from. That's why I say it's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
The first language cuneiform wasn't created, because we wanted to communicate. It was created to keep track of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Time. The reason why we got so invested in understanding time wasn't because we wanted to understand time, because so we could regiment the workday.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like I said, we went from existing in this timelessness, right? And wanted to understand time, right? Now we understand time, and now we feel like we don't have any time.
Right.
Because everything is so regimented and
Mm-hmm.
segmented and all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. For majority of human history, we didn't even have days
Mm-hmm.
or weeks.
We was
We just went with the flow.
Right.
Like I don't know any other way to say it. We just gotta just existed and went places, and followed stuff.
Yeah. In creating our own order.
Yeah, like
we have
there wasn't a work week, there wasn't a weekends
Right.
and all that stuff. It was just
Right. And in creating the order, we created madness.
Yeah. Because the world isn't what we think it is.
Right. And
it
so
will never be what
that's right. And so we are constantly
we're trying to force
that.
And we're doing it to ourselves.
That's right.
We aren't what we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
The act of being a human being is still an act.
Mm-hmm.
This may be how we order ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not who we are.
Right.
But now our society, our world, this corporation, this company we've all been born into,
Mm-hmm.
is saying that, well, this is who you have to be.
Right.
If you want to feed yourself.
Right. You
right.
have to, right.
You have to work in our company and pay taxes and all that stuff. And it's like, we all know there's something wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
We all know there's something wrong.
Right.
But it's like, well, I need to eat.
Yep. I need to have my lights and the right.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I get that. I mean, it's impossible to not get that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've never really been hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been hungry before, but I've never been at a place where I couldn't satiate it.
Yeah, I mean, we got right.
Yeah,
it's a matter of you'll cook.
Yeah. So I can only understand being in that place.
Right.
I can only imagine being hungry.
Right.
And
like
not
for
being,
real.
Yeah, being hungry like for real, and not being able to satisfy that. Just literally not being able to do that because the metric in which we're existing in won't allow that. I can only imagine the type of things you do at that place. Right? I get frustrated when I'm hungry. There's always food.
Right.
I open the cabinet.
Right.
And there's food to make, and I'm like, I don't feel like it. I don't want.
Right.
I just wish I had some McDonald's. right? It's like,
Or you call me, you be
yeah,
like,
I asked you to make, can you
right,
make some, make some, yeah,
right.
like that's where I'm at, and it's like I could only imagine.
Right.
It's like to be homeless and you just don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what we're existing in.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're existing in. Where the very, like the most basic things, the most basic necessities of life can be taken away from you because we have decided to optimize the human experience. And there are people with a vested interest, with money
Mm-hmm.
and lifestyles at stake in this particular optimization. And it hurts.
Yes.
It hurts
Mm-hmm.
because this isn't what life is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
And
what
we
we,
all know it.
yeah.
And we all know that this is not what it's supposed to be. And yet we feel as if this is just what it is.
Well, because we are in our time,
Mm-hmm.
and this, like, there's so much. There's, like I said, a majority of human history wasn't this way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like I said, but we never really had a choice in that. We
Right.
never really had all of the, things at our disposal now.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have all these things at our disposal and still choose for life to be something else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, evidently, yes, we can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the people at the top fight so very hard to make sure that we don't.
Right.
You know, but this is the time we're existing in now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have faith that we will reach a time where
This is not the case.
it's not the
Right.
case. Where we finally have the freedom to make that choice and say that we want this, but not like this.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to take responsibility and do the type of things that we need to do, right, to reach that place.
Mm-hmm. Oh Lord, I hope we go real.
You know? But I also know that I'm existing in my time.
Mm-hmm.
And my time is not that time. Is not that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So for us to reach that time that I have faith in, I am going to have to exist in mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to exist in mine. I'm going to have to reach for it now.
Now, that's right. Do it now. Mm-hmm.
Reach for it now.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do it now because that's all that I can do. And even if it's impossible, even if it's just a dream at this moment, that's it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do that
Mm-hmm.
over and over again because this is my time. This is my time.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
You're here
Yeah.
at this moment.
To live.
Yeah, to live. And to do what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is no, you're not going back to replay or to correct anything. All the things that you think that you need to go back to and correct, it's right here present for you to do. You're living with the results of that right now.
And you're going to do it again.
Yeah. So let's 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 do it now. You know, let's do what
And that's
let's do what we know what
and
we
do
all
you
know need to be done.
do you have the strength?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the conviction inside of you to know that it won't be done, not in your time, but still go on doing, still go on trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
He spent over 4 billion years punching that diamond wall,
Mm-hmm.
and for billions of years, he knew that he wasn't going to be the one to make it out. That all that particular that whatever that version was at that time
Mm-hmm.
knew, and man, I still got billions of years to go.
Yeah. Just imagine, when you plant that seed,
Mm-hmm.
it takes time for that seed to become the tree
Mm-hmm.
and then to bear the fruit and the shade.
But there's gonna be one.
Yeah.
One of these times, you're gonna get through that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It may take a second of eternity, but you're gonna get through there.
Mm-hmm.
right?
You have to be in the moment to even do that as well.
Yeah, but you'll never get there if I don't do what I need to do in my time.
That's right. That's the holdup.
Mm.
That's the holdup for, I'm gonna say, the future. Is that you're not doing what you need to do right
Oh,
now
what if we are?
for the future that you say that
Yeah,
you want.
it's not happening now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening now,
Mm-hmm.
but it will happen. It will happen. But do you have what it takes to live in this mediocrity now? To punch
Right.
that diamond wall,
Ball. Right.
knowing that you're not going to get through
Mm-hmm.
it. In the faith that you will, at some point, a version of the doctor will get through that wall. Can we be a middle iteration? We all think, that's what I said, we all think we're living in the times.
Mm-hmm.
People thought the world was going to end back in 1580
Mm-hmm.
because that was the time.
Right. Eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh,
Like
yeah,
everybody always thinks
right.
that if we don't do it now,
Right.
here, that's what we said. We were reading. We were Dr.
Wilson.
Francis
Yeah.
Chris Wilson.
Uh-huh.
When she was talking about stuff like from the 70s and
Uh-huh.
80s. I'm like, we in 2,000 people. Like she was prophesizing the end
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
us, and we're still here,
Mm-hmm.
still asking the same questions and
Mm-hmm.
still trying because we all think that we're living in the time
Mm-hmm.
and that we're
The time is
facing.
at yeah.
Yeah, that the time
Uh-huh.
is now.
Right.
That we're facing the crisis
Mm-hmm.
of the whole of humanity. That
Mm-hmm.
this is
This is it.
we all
This is that's
feel
all
that. We
right.
all
Mm-hmm.
feel that throughout all of history. We've all
Mm-hmm.
felt that we were living in the time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're not. Maybe we're just one of those many steps along the path
Mm-hmm.
to that time, right?
Yeah.
And maybe our world, for everything that it is still, a world worth existing and a life worth
With
living.
living.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah. But
It just depends on
yeah.
how
Right.
you feel on that day,
That's right.
and that's okay.
Yeah, because yesterday we said something else. We were talking about some other stuff. And,
Yeah, because yesterday I was like, I don't know.
right.
How do I get here?
Right.
But if you think about it and you talk it
Yeah.
out, at least on a person, like on a
Yeah.
person
So
level,
like, well, I was like, okay, yeah.
we'll
So
get
so
there.
yes. So here we
We'll
are.
get there. And we're at a point now.
Mm-hmm.
We're here now, right? We don't know if we're going to be here forever.
Right.
And say, because tomorrow we'll be like, oh, screw all this. This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Right.
But it's always with the knowledge
uh-huh.
that life is a miracle, even at its worst.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have it within us to just keep punching that diamond wall, just keep living, keep going, we'll get through. So, yeah, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments. And once again, thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you.